We'll archive these so these can be shared with people. You know, so the folks online, if you heard that's cool, but I don't know, we'll try to figure out some way to archive some of this so we can share it out more broadly with people who aren't here today. So I'm mindful of your time, and I'm so thankful that you took time out of your Saturday to come here this afternoon. And again, if I haven't totally turned you off, I'm going to be in a room over here, and I do have several of my books to sell and to sign. Be glad to do that for you. Here's what I'd like to close with. I'm going to share, first of all, something that is a part of my latest book on Indigenuity. And that is that, how many artists are in the room? Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is so important. So I'm going to tell you a story. One of the books I have out here is called Red Alert: Saving the Planet with Indigenous Knowledge, which sounds extremely anthropocentric. Oh, you're going to save the earth with indigenous knowledge. Well, you have to read the book, and it was mistitled, okay? I should have never signed off on that title because it is misleading. Because you have to read the book to understand that what's the key to understanding indigenous knowledge? It's not anthropocentric. It's the opposite of that. Now, don't get me wrong. We always are going to bring our human eyes to look at things because that's what we were given. But being mindful of the fact that that gives us just one lens of looking at the world, and that the wolf and the whale, orca, the bear, the possum, the mole, the frog, they see the world too, but they don't see it the way we do. Gives you an incredible ability then to recognize that the world's very rich, and we would do well to not make ourselves the center of it in any kind of ethical sense, but instead recognize what we know about the good life can be taught to us by the land, the air, the water, the plants, the trees, the animals. But you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to learn the lessons. As my friend Doc Tusi would say, a Samoan elder, he would say, the lessons that the ocean, he's an island person, so he lives on a seascape, not a landscape, but a seascape. He says the lessons that the oceans have taught my people is that the situations we face today are not about fixing things. They are about healing relationships. We are in desperate need of healing right now. Now, I know I'm giving you guys a really difficult task because I'm saying, leave here today and think of kinship as not just a human construction, but think of kinship in that larger life world sense of our kinship with the earth, with the water, with the plants, with the animals. Now, the reason I'm saying I know this is a heavy lift because right now we're not doing a very good job of building kinship even amongst our human relatives. In fact, we got some big issues there. But that's just one of the problems. The power of indigenuity is it allows us to recognize that we are we're not in this alone. We have many helpers, but we got to know how to ask for the help. We have to pay attention. We have to be willing to learn from the earth, from the biology that we share this planet with, from our different than human relatives, because they can actually make us better humans. And so that's a big ask. I understand that. I understand it's a big ask. The reason I'm so glad there are artists in the room is art is, I think, holds the power to communicate things that we desperately need today. The facts of global climate change, while some people will dispute those, aren't nearly as difficult of a problem to resolve, getting the facts straight, as it is getting our feelings, our heart, our spirit, our mind in what I would call right relationship with the balance of life on this planet. Okay? And art can speak to that more than any graph or set of numbers, we might put on a page. So I'm glad that artists are here. So when I was working on Red Alert, I started working on that. It didn't get published till 2009, but I knew I was going to write that book when I came home from some overseas work I did between 2002 and 2004 in Eastern Europe. Because every time I'd go over there for a couple weeks in the summer and do my work and come back, and just every summer I'd come back, it was always in the news, drought. Some places burning up, some places more water than they could handle. I knew, it was in the air, Al Gore had been talking about it for 2 decades, but I started listening to what students, my relatives were saying from different tribes, and all of a sudden it was just very obvious, hey, things are changing and we are the primary culprits in making this change happen. And so I wanted to write something to share this indigenous lens. So that's what you're going to find in these books. The book Power in Place was Vine, Delory, and I's effort to really, it's not a curriculum guide. It's not a curriculum guide. It's a statement about what indigenous education, how it frames the topics of being, what it means to be knowledgeable, what it means to be a good human being. I mean, I know it's not in vogue to talk about those things in education anymore, but that's an indigenous framework. That's the most important question. What kind of animal are you going to be? And so I was working on that, and I said, before I do this, I knew the indigenous stuff, but I thought I've got to really do my studies on climate science. And so I spent about 1 year reading all the climate science I could get my hands on. And at the end of that year, I was so depressed. I thought, I'm not going to write this book. It's over. We're done for. Why waste the ink? I mean, these are what scientists were saying. We are in for a major wake-up call. And I thought, man, these scientists are just, and I was depressed. See, and I had got so immersed in that kind of scholarship and research and science that I had forgotten, what it is that I was really trying to do. And it took my elders to tell me, Dr. Henrietta Mann, a Cheyenne woman, a dear friend of mine, the legendary Billy Frank Jr. from the Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission. I started talking to people who I considered trusted elders, and every one of them told me the same thing. They said, Dan, you've read enough books. What you need to do is get outside again. I live about, maybe 2/3 of a mile, as a stone's throw from the south bank of the Kansas River that meanders around downtown Lawrence. Those of you familiar with Lawrence, I have an old home, over 100 years old home in Old West Lawrence. So I'm pretty close to downtown, to the river. And I just started walking my dog every day, just along the river. And all of a sudden, I started having hope again. The river was still flowing. The eagles were still coming to fish in the winter below the dam when the river froze over. And I thought, yeah, how did I forget this? I'm surrounded by life. I'm surrounded by beauty. And that is what my responsibility is too. The bad actors are primarily us. We can't blame the eagles. We can't blame the fish in the Cot River, what few are left. We can't blame the coyotes. We can't blame the deer. And guess what? I decided right then and there. I found in the Dusty Bookshelf. They're not paying me to say this, but how many of you have been to the Dusty Bookshelf on Mass Street? Oh, hey, good. Anyway, I'm a regular in there. But I had never gone to the poetry section. And I saw this thick volume, General Cantos by Pablo Neruda. And I bought it. I started reading his poetry. And all of a sudden, I said, wow, this guy is speaking, such power. And he's not a scientist, he's an artist. He's a poet. And I'm fortunate, I live surrounded by artists. Wife's an artist, her whole family was artists. My brother's an artist. And I got so wrapped up in this kind of scientific analysis that I forgot really what was motivating me. So I got recentered again, and I started reading a lot of poetry, and then I started writing poetry. So you're going to see in my new book, not in Red Alert, but in my new book, I started reading poetry when I was finishing up Red Alert, but I started writing poetry too. So I'll let you be the judge of whether I should continue that or not, okay? But so I've got it's really, on Indigenuity is an extended essay, really. And I sent a bunch of pieces of things to my editor, and he really did a beautiful job helping me piece it together. He says, this is not book chapters. He says, this is just an extended essay. So it's 100+ pages essay about indigenous ingenuity, separated by poems, each section. And so I'm going to leave you today. I want to give you a gift, whether you buy the book or not. I'm going to give you the short version of a poem that came to me when I started my work with a big NSF project I'm leading now called It Hasn't Been Cut Yet. Thank you. It has not been defunded yet. It's, as far as I know, we've still got money. I've had a lot of colleagues across the country who no longer have grants from NSF, NIH. I do, and I'm thankful because it's good work. And this came to me when I had my first big meeting where I brought people from Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, and Louisiana together to talk about this work we were going to do. And here's what came to my mind, and then I expanded it into a larger poem. So I want to leave you with this today. Beauty surrounds us, much ugliness too. This our wise ones tell us. Both are real, but only one is true. And the question is, which will guide you? The ugliness around you or the beauty residing in and living all about you. I hope each one of you chooses beauty. Songlei Koyasate, thank you so much for giving me a couple hours of your Saturday afternoon. And so, yeah, we've got a down the hallway here a little bit. We go out and then to our right. And we've got a room set up for information about the groups who helped co-sponsor this. And I've got a little table with books. Now, I can't do credit cards, but I will take check or cash, and no problem there. But you can buy these books at any bookstore.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Wildcat. Let's give him another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, I want to thank the Anita Gorman Conservation Discovery Center and the Climate Council, and also let you know that the Climate Council is holding an Earth Fest fair tomorrow at Unity Temple on the Plaza between 11 and 2. Actually, I've been asked to do a little session to report on this workshop. So if you would join us, you can help me do that at 1:30. So it's at Unity Temple, lower level, and there'll be a dozen or two organizations that are doing climate change work at 707 West 47th Street. And so please do go to the Lewis Room and look at the information that the co-sponsoring tables and the books of Dr. Wildcat. And please also sign up on the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council's sign-up list to receive mailings about future programs and activities.